Hello, third grade Virtual Academy. I hope you had a wonderful few days off with your family, and I know I'm ready to jump back into creating, so I hope you are too. This week, we're going to be thinking warm thoughts and talking about how artists like Georgia O'Keeffe use the concept of space in their artwork. We're specifically going to be talking about her artworks involving the desert. So let's take a look. So this is Georgia O'Keeffe. Here she is in the actual desert creating one of her many, many paintings. And these are examples of her actual paintings. So you can see that she's not so interested in making it look like a photo. What she's trying to do is show us what the desert looks like to her and make it look interesting and beautiful. So you can see that in both pictures we have some stuff that appears to be closer to us. In the one on the left we have that greenery, maybe there's some desert trees. And then we have some that are further in the back that are a little bit different colors. And then we have this kind of mountain or hill way far in the back. In the one on the right, it looks really cool. And you can see that again, we have some stuff closer to us, some stuff further from us, and then we have those hills way off in the distance. But really, we're just looking at a flat picture. So there is no distance. It's all just a flat page. So we're going to be talking about how she made it look like some of these desert cacti, these are little circle cacti, how she made it look like these are closer to us than the ones back here. So in a picture like this, the larger you make something and the closer it is to the bottom of the picture, the closer it looks like it is to the viewer. So this one here looks like it's the closest one to us because it's one of the biggest ones and it's way down towards the bottom of the paper. But if we look at one like this one right here, it's up higher on the paper and it's much smaller than these closer ones. So this one appears to be much, much further. And then look at these ones back here. These look like they're way far away because they're way up here on the page and they're itty bitty. Something else she does is work with the colors. So on this one, she made these front trees really bright and vibrant with these beautiful greens. Then the green starts to lose some of its brightness, and then back here it's almost like a brownie green. So you can actually use color to give the idea of depth too. So they're most green the further down and closer they are, and then they kind of lose their greenness and become kind of like a brown or a gray as they get further away. So again, larger objects that overlap other objects appear closer to the viewer, and the further back an object is, the smaller it appears. Here is my example of the desert picture that we're going to be creating today. When it comes to coloring, especially the sky, you can do pretty much whatever you want and be creative. The only thing we're going to be doing together really is just making sure that we get the idea that the ones that are lower on the paper are closer to us and the ones that are higher on the paper are further away from us. So let's get started. For today's desert landscape lesson, we're going to start by actually creating the ground that our cacti is going to sit on. So what we're going to do is do about 3 lines that kind of wiggle their way up the paper. So the first one I'm going to do is going to start almost down here at the bottom, and don't make it straight, kind of give it a little character like it's the ground. There's one line. I'm going to do a second line that kind of goes from here down, but again, give it a little wiggle like this. 2. I'm going to do a third one, kind of goes right about here. 3. So these are like hills in the sand. And then the fourth one is going to kind of go straight across. This is going to be our horizon line way back in the distance. I'm imagining that these are maybe little hills or mountains, and the sky is what comes above this. So again, just don't make it perfectly straight. Nothing in nature is too straight. So there we go. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections to my land. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put cacti on our pieces here. So I want to start at the lines. And what they need to do is be big up here in the front, which is lower on the paper, and smaller as we work our way back. So that's how we're going to create the idea of perspective. So I'm going to start on this first line, and I'm going to do a nice big cactus. To do my cactus, I'm going to start with the main body of it. I'm going to cross over these other lines I've made. Main body of it, and then do almost like he's holding up his arms to show his muscles. But again, don't make these too perfect and don't make them too even. So I'm going to do one there and one there. So then I have to erase the line that went through this cactus. So here's my eraser. Just take your eraser, get rid of those lines where they went through. there is my first cactus. The second one I'm gonna put on this second hill, and it's just gonna be a little bit smaller. So it's gonna go maybe here, just a little smaller. And this time maybe shorter little arms. One up here and one up here. Erase that. All right, now we're getting up here to the third line. So I'm gonna do, this one's gonna be a fair bit smaller, like that. Okay, and then we can add one more maybe over here, but this one's gonna be way uphill by this, way up here by this line, but I'm gonna make it like real small. To give the idea that it's way back here in the distance. Like that. And then just look and see if you think it needs a little bit more, if it looks a little too perfect, a little too even. Maybe you could do these little cacti that are just these little like ball cacti. And I'll do one up here too. Maybe I'll do one right here. Give it a bottom like that. Maybe one over here too. It's looking a little plain. There. All right, so once I have established the idea that things near the bottom of the paper are actually closer to us than the things up towards the top of the paper, that is where I have established my perspective. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start to add color. So another way that you can help establish perspective is make sure that the things that are meant to be closer to you are actually brighter in color, and the things that are farther away are actually a little bit more dull. So if you're gonna use something like crayons, you can just press harder on the ones that are closer to you and then press lighter on the ones that are in the back. So I'm gonna grab my supplies and see what I have to work with to color this. For my colors, I was able to find color pencils. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pick 3 types of each color that I'm gonna use, greens and browns for the sand, and I'm gonna use my brightest, lightest colors towards the front of the picture, and then they kind of get more dull as they go back. So I'm looking at my greens here, and I'm gonna say that this is probably the most vibrant one, and then it's gonna go to this lighter green, and then this kind of olive green, jade green. So I'm gonna start here in the front, and I'm gonna make these the darkest, brightest, like the brightest green, the most intense green. And then I'm gonna get kind of this middle green, and then I'm gonna do my most muted green. So I'm going to let you watch that in time lapse. The colors of my artwork look a little bit off because I had to turn the brightness way down when I was doing this, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see anything. So again, just color them with the colors being brightest, most intense colors towards the bottom of the paper, and then muted going back. You can see that you can hardly see my picture at all right now. We will be outlining this all with markers, so don't worry about it if it gets just a little bit messy. For the sky, just have fun with it. I used markers and tried to make it look like a rainbow sunset. That's all. When it comes time to outline all of your cacti and your pencil lines with marker, I just used a Sharpie. And I started just by outlining all of my lines. And then after that, I added some lines inside my cacti just to make it look like they had sections. And then I also added little X's on those lines so that it would look like they had little pokers, like cacti do. So just have fun with these parts.